The little mermaid goes on land. When Aura stepped onto the sand, she did not move right away. All right, she said to herself. She took one step and swayed, then another. Aura looked around. She started walking toward the city, careful not to move too fast. So that's how it works, she said. When she reached the first street, the noise grew louder. It's a lot, she said. She went on. At the corner, there was a bakery. The door stood open, and inside people talked and waited in line. Aura stepped closer and looked in. What are you looking for? The man behind the counter asked. Aura startled for a moment, then smiled. I want that, she said, pointing to a round loaf of bread. First time here? He asked. Yes, Aura replied. The man laughed and handed her the bread. Careful, it's hot. Thank you, Aura said, taking it with both hands. She stepped outside and sat on the stone edge by the door. That's strange, she said. When she stood up, she noticed two children running down the street. They stopped in front of her. Are you new? One of them asked. Yes, Aura said. I'm Lena, the girl said, and that's my brother. The boy waved. You don't walk like we do, he noted. Aura laughed. I'm still learning. You'll learn, Lena said. We all did. They walked together. And what is this called? The children answered, sometimes all at once. We wait. When they reached the square, there was a market. Everyone here knows what they're doing, she said. Not always, Lena replied. Aura laughed. She liked that. At one stall, a man was arranging apples. Aura stopped. May I take one? She asked. Of course, he said. Aura held it and felt its weight. I won't drop it, she said. Lena and her brother laughed. See, Lena said, you're doing fine. Aura walked on. Sometimes she stopped. Sometimes she made mistakes. Sometimes she laughed at herself. When the sun began to sink, the children left. Will you come again? Lena asked. Yes, Aura said. Good, Lena said. We'll wait for you. Aura walked back toward the palace. So this is how you live here, she said. When she reached the gates, the guards looked at her in surprise. Are you all right? One of them asked. Yes, Aura said. She went inside, smiling. Her day on land was not over, and she already wanted more. When Aura returned to the palace, the sun was already sinking behind the rooftops of the city. Inside, the familiar corridors welcomed her. This place breathes, she said softly. In her room, she took off her shoes and sat on the bed. So, this is it, she said. On the table stood a jug of water. Aura poured herself a glass and drank. Not everything has to be the sea to be good, she said. The next morning, she woke earlier than usual. The palace was already stirring. Good morning, Aura said. Good morning, they replied, smiling. In the dining hall, the prince was waiting. How was it? He asked before she even sat down. Different, Aura said. Just again? He smiled. Or every day? Aura thought for a moment. Every day, she said. After breakfast, they went out together. Here? He asked at one crossing. Yes, Aura said. She led him to the market, now even louder than before. They're getting used to you, the prince said. And I'm getting used to them, Aura replied. She stopped at a stall selling ceramic cups. This will break if it falls, she said. Most things do, the seller replied. I know, Aura smiled. On the way back, they met the children again. Hey, Aura, Lena called. You came back. I told you I would, Aura said. And who's he? The boy asked, pointing at the prince. A friend, Aura said before he could answer. The prince laughed. I like that, he said. The afternoon passed quickly. It's not scary to ask, a woman told her when Aura hesitated. I'm glad, Aura replied. That evening she returned tired but content. The sea must be calm now, she said, as if she could see it. The prince sat beside her. Do you miss it? He asked. Aura thought. Not exactly, she said. He nodded. I feel the same about some places, he said. The days continued. In the kitchen she learned how to knead dough. Don't press so hard, the cook said. Let it relax. Does dough learn too? Aura asked. Everything learns, the woman replied. Aura nodded and continued. In the garden she helped the gardener. These flowers need more water, he said. Like some people, Aura smiled. The gardener laughed. One afternoon, she slipped on wet stone and sat down hard. Oh, she said, laughing. Again, the prince offered his hand. Are you all right? Yes, Aura said. They laughed together. In the evenings, when she was alone, Aura sometimes spoke to herself. Today I learned something new, she said. One night she dreamed of the sea, not as before, but like a distant friend. She woke with a smile. We're all right, she said to the quiet. Soon the city accepted her fully. Good morning, Aura. Good, she answered. And that was enough. On a festive day, music filled the square. People danced. Aura stood aside, watching. Will you join? The prince asked. Yes, she said. He took her hand and led her. Like this? She asked. Exactly, he replied. Aura laughed. I like learning, she said. When the evening ended and people went home, Aura sat once more in front of the palace. Today was a long day, she said, but a good one, the prince added. Yes, she agreed. She looked up at the stars. I know where I am, she said. The prince looked at her carefully. Why? Because I chose, Aura answered. She stood and walked toward the door. Tomorrow again, she said. And tomorrow came. And then many more days. And Aura walked on land the way she once swam in the sea. After a few weeks, Aura no longer counted the days. They came on their own and went on their own, and she met them the way they came, with open eyes, without wondering whether she was doing everything the right way. On land, there were no rules you learned all at once. There were small habits that appeared by themselves. In the morning, she went into the garden before breakfast. She sat on the stone edge by the fountain and dipped her fingers into the water, not to remember the sea, but because she liked the coolness. The water here did not move on its own, but that did not make it any less interesting. Is it still strange to you? The prince asked once when he found her there. No, Aura answered. It's just different every day. He sat beside her and dropped a coin into the fountain. It fell with a soft sound and disappeared. People here make wishes, he said. I don't make wishes, Aura said. I look. The prince smiled because that sounded exactly like her. Later in the day, she went down into the city. Not always with him. Sometimes alone. Sometimes with someone from the palace who wanted to show her something. Aura already knew which streets were quieter and which grew loud at midday. She knew where people stopped to talk and where they only passed through. At the market, they already knew her. Good day, Aura, the apple seller would say. Today I have smaller ones. Wonderful, she would answer. Easier to carry. She learned to choose without hurrying, to keep the basket close to her body, and to leave space for one more thing she might like. She did not buy everything. Some things she only looked at. One day she saw a small wooden toy. It was roughly carved and hand-painted. It won't last long, the seller said. I know, Aura said, but we'll enjoy it. She bought it and carried it back to the palace. She placed it on a low shelf in the corridor where the servants' children passed. They took it at once and began passing it to one another. It's okay, Aura said when one child looked at her questioningly. She didn't like things to stand alone. In the palace, Aura began spending more time outside the grand halls. The crown stayed where it belonged, but she didn't wear it when she went down to the kitchen or out into the garden. No one forbade her. It's easier to move like that, the cook told her one day. Yes, Aura agreed, and I like to move. In the kitchen, she learned to knead bread. The dough stuck to her fingers and she laughed. Don't squeeze it so hard, the cook said. Let it find its place. Like people, Aura replied, and they both laughed. Afternoons often passed in the garden. Aura carried water, trimmed dry leaves, and asked questions. Why is this flower lower? The gardener answered patiently, and sometimes he simply said, That's how it is here. And that was enough for her. One day it rained. Not like in the sea, where water comes from every side, here it came from above. Aura stood under the awning and held out her hand. It drips, she said, laughing. The prince came closer. You'll get wet. A little, Aura said. It's not scary. She stepped out into the rain and turned her hands. Her hair got wet, her dress grew heavy, but she didn't stop. Now I understand why people run, she said, not because they're in a hurry, but because they're laughing. In the evening, when they returned, Aura sat by the window. Sometimes she spoke, sometimes she didn't. The prince was near her, but not always. She got used to that, too. We don't have to be together all the time, she said once. I know you're nearby. And I know, he answered. The city slowly accepted her. People stopped whispering when they saw her. They began speaking to her normally. Today, it's quieter. Aura listened and nodded. She did not feel lost. One evening, she received a letter. It wasn't from the sea, but from her grandmother. It was short and written carefully. Are you well? Aura smiled and answered at once. Yes, I'm learning. The next day, she went to the shore, not to go into the water, but to sit on the rocks and look. The sea was calm. I'm here, she said, but also there. She did not step into the water. She simply stood and walked away. At the palace, dinner was waiting. The prince looked at her. Today you look tired. Yes, Aura said. From the good things? He nodded. They tire you the most. Aura laughed and sat down. The food was simple but good. She ate slowly and talked about her day. Today I learned not to carry everything alone, she said. Someone offered help and I accepted it. That's important, the prince said. Yes, Aura answered, and I liked it. Night came. Aura lay down and closed her eyes. Sleep came quickly, but it was light. She dreamed of roads, steps, and faces that smile. In the morning, she got up again. She dressed and went out. One more day, she said. And she walked on.